Mbeseha, talking about what even happened in Gabon, I think I'd like you to comment. But I want you to comment details of something that is happening in Gabon. By Mbeseha, please.
Well, uh, you want me to comment on what is happening in Gabon, but I would rather want to
No,
comment
not,
on
not
what
just
is happening.
I want you to talk on. I want you to talk on everything. But there's something happening in
Yes,
Gabon now that
yes,
Afro has
There
made
is
yes.
something. There
about
is
it.
something.
There's something happening in Gabon.
Yeah.
I wanted to say that Gabon is just symbolic. See, I don't know how often we've argued here on something they call Pan Africanism. Africa must be this, Africa must be that. And I wonder what we're talking about. These countries are supposed to be independent. And if you see what's happening in Gabon, what's happening in the Congo, Kinshasa, they're talking about bilateral agreements, whether it is the Russians, the French, or whoever. I can tell you, and I dare somebody challenge me, those things are not bilateral. Because bilateral means that you receive something in return for something you give. Yes, there are military officers from Russia or from from the US or anywhere training your forces under bilateral agreement. What are you giving to them in return, military wise? Can you find a single Gabonese, a single Congolese, a single Cameroonian somewhere in Russia trying to give some expertise to Russian soldiers? Zero, absolutely zero. And so these people are beggars who have no meaning at all. And then, of course, you come to Africa as a bloc. If it is Cameroon, if it is Gabon, you're going to find Gabonese who are financially educated. They have all the education in the world. Why do they need this so-called foreign expertise, be it from Europe, be it from the West or from the East? If you can, let us take Cameroon where we are so close to. The Cameroon has an army, a very large army. Most of them, at least generals. What are these generals doing? What did they do to earn the rank of generals? If they are generals, why can't they train their own soldiers? If they are generals. In Cameroon, for example, we have seen generals used to be chicken servants of Mr. Whether we listen to President something, A, B, a general is a rank reserved for the army. It's reserved for your performance, something. They are not doing this. And then they will go and tell me Africa is going so well. Africa is going where? Africa is going nowhere. They have imprisoned themselves, not the white man. If you make yourself a slave, you become a slave. If you cannot assert your own right, I will employ you in my house as a kitchen boy and pay you the salary or I don't pay you, you do nothing. And so this idea of Western people doing this and that, the so-called agreement signed in 1959, Cote d'Ivoire. The question was, were these agreements, are they not revisable? Have they been revisited for the past 50, 60 years? Is it because the Cameroonians, the Ivorians, the, the Nigerians, whoever you call them, don't have the ability to revise those things? These agreements were in principle voidable because these countries were not. You could challenge them after it became independent. But they became independent 60 years ago or more. But rather than challenge them, they have bought into them. How old was Tinubu, for example, in 1960? How old was Paul Biya? And so on and so forth. And you, in that context, you see people, Mr. Tinubu, inviting some 200 Americans to come to Nigeria and train million or 100,000 Nigerian military people how to fight Boko Haram. Really? Is that not a joke? And unless I made a mistake, I remember this week, just this week ending, we saw a picture. They claim that they have arrested some Boko Haram people in Cameroon. They're essentially based in Nigeria. But they arrested one. Among them, the one they arrested, whose picture we saw, was a white man. This is a white Boko Haram guy. Is this man from Nigeria? Is he an Hausa man? Is he a Fulani man? Certainly not. He's a white man, either from the east or the west, but he's from Europe. He's from Europe. And then you are asking this expertise to come for them to come and train you how to fight this your own. look at criminals, self-inflicted wounds. If the Nigerian army, for example, more than 100,000 in number, cannot fight 5,000 Boko Haram people, that they need the Americans, they need the French, they need the British to fight them. If the Congolese government in Kinshasa cannot fight those rebels there, they need a training. Come in. This is a thick forest. Is there a thick forest? Certainly not. So if they cannot know how to train this forest, they expect the Russians to come and teach them. Zero. Why are they teaching them by their own vision? They are teaching them how to manage drones. Is to repair drones in Kinshasa. Is there a place to repair drones in Lagos? They teach them how to manipulate what they have brought. If they get back, they take it back home. The poor African is saying that has been trained how to manipulate. But what is wrong with an African, be it a Cameroonian, a Nigerian, a Ghanaian, having the technology that the very white man has? And I'm sure those drone trainers, Russia, from the US or anywhere, sat in the same classroom with black people. And the black guys from Ghana, from Cameroon, from Nigeria beat them on the road. And today, where are they? They're somewhere filtering through the bushes. Why? Because their own governments have refused to be responsible. They refuse to exploit them. But you're sitting here and talking. Everybody admires you there. But how long will it take for you to become even the chief of service in the CRTV? If you know all the expertise in the world? Zero. You will not get there. And then they will come and tell you, well, they are bringing people to come and train people how to broadcast news in Yaoundé, or to come and broadcast news in Lagos, or Abuja, or Abidjan, because they lack Africans to do that. No. Until the Africans stand up and say, enough is enough. And they've seen it. Burkina Faso did not need to go to London to get people to go and tell France, enough is enough. The people of Niger, Mali, which was the largest empire in Africa, they don't need to go to France, to Russia, to anywhere in the world, to China, to tell them that, go and tell France, we don't know the value of our uranium, because if you put it in the basket, we don't even know what it means. But we can sell it for the price that it is worth. They don't need that. You just need Africans, wherever they are, from Cairo to Cape Town, to assert their own responsibilities. In terms of Africa, we have all the human know-how, but our governments have refused to use us. They have refused to exploit what they have as their own manpower. They have decided to do this thing for the white man. Why? Because behind every African leader, most of them, not everyone, they have foreign bank accounts in Switzerland. How big is Switzerland? It's not even up to Amazonia. But Switzerland has established banks that are reliable, that people from Cameroon, from Nigeria can hide money there because it's a reliable bank. Switzerland is not even off the state in Nigeria in terms of size, in terms of population. And so, all this, we have been pleading to Norway. How big is Norway? How big is Sweden? That are holding people accountable for all these things that they're not doing. Yes, but Sweden is in the West. Norway is in the West. Switzerland is in the West. And of course, those people, these few countries I've named, they never had any colonies. We don't have a Swedish colony anywhere, a Norwegian colony anywhere. But they have exploited their own expertise in banking, military-wise, in economics, and everything that you can talk about. Until, again, I've insisted this many times before, until the African sits up and agrees in principle that the knowledge that is in the head of the white man, the same knowledge is in the head of the black man, and exploit the best of theirs, then shall we talk of Africa. Africa that talks of bilateral agreement without a corresponding response. We have seen this week many Africans, including Cameroonians, dying in Russia, fighting for the Russians. How many of those guys, hundreds of them, were commanding units in Russia? They commanded nobody. The white man commanded them there, and they died, and they brought back their corpses. But they were trained. But how many times, how often can you find even a French captain coming to fight in Amazonia? No. If a French captain came here, he will make the commander, not just an ordinary fighter.
Not just an
But
ordinary
because
fighter.
yes,
That's true.
but because he's French, he will command the unit. I remember emphatically in the 1960s, 70s, when we started doing law, what French technical advisors in the Ministry of Justice, these people were people who had capacity in law, but they were the
Yeah.
directors in the Ministry of Justice, directing Cameroonian lawyers like S.T. Muna, like Muna, like Tabon, like all those people that were trained in Oxford, in London, until they took time before they were sent away. And
And
so until the
Pastor
African
Mbeseha,
assess himself, until the
come
African
in there.
assess himself, we're wasting our
Pastor
time.
Mbeseha,
Over to you.
Pastor Mbeseha, let me come in there. What you have just mentioned is really just similar things that Pastor Fu said. Pastor Fu, I'm giving you the mic now. It only highlights one thing. Like Pastor Fu had a concern. Pastor Fu said, how is Congo still allowing France? The question that is troubling everyone right now is the need that African leadership, like big Nigeria, is still depending so much on to lead their own people. I'll give a good example before we move. I just gave it Nigeria. But look at what is happening in Gabon. I have always, Barrister Fru, you know, I've had this discussion with you many times. I've always been suspicious of the coup d'etat, the so-called in Gabon. That was
Correct.
just a drama. It was that was a precipitated French move because they were suspecting that a real coup was going to take place that would have replaced that leadership, and they'll have somebody they don't have control. So it's troubling to see that more than half a century after a supposed independence in Africa, we are still where we are. By Safru.
But I don't like to think so negatively now because the young people, what Barrister Mbeseha has said has to do with the old colonial people that were settled by the French to do their bidding, or not only by the French, by the West to do their bidding. Look at what has happened. The Sahel is being liberated. Gabon young people have told Macron to his face, we want you to withdraw your forces. We don't want French imperialism again in Gabon. We don't want, we want to rescind all the colonial laws and agreements that you had with Gabon. Gabon is now free. Gabon wants to be free. Well, leave Gabon alone. That was being told him by a group of young people sitting on the table. I saw the video, and that was the visit of Macron to Gabon. It just to tell you that the coup that took place to Gabon was French inspired, French led, and the French imposed that man who is now calling himself the president of Gabon. Young people are rising. It is happening in Chad. It is happening in Gabon. It has happened in Mali, Burkina Faso, and Chad,
And Niger,
many other African countries in the Sahel.
and Niger,
They are leading the way to liberate Africa. If we keep saying that Africa is going nowhere, what are we doing? Discouraging the young people from doing what they are doing?